Joining us from Eretz Yisrael is the Chazan, Rav Avshalom Katz, and his two children, Eitan Katz in Far Rockaway, New York, and his son, Shlomo Katz, who's a Rav in Efrat and also a musician. Welcome, Rabbi Katz. That's Katz with apostrophe behind it. So, Rabbi Avshalom, we've had on, I'm going to be interviewing a number of very famous Rabbanim, but you're the first artistic artist that I'm going to be interviewing. And it's a different type of interview because most of our children, I can say this, I struggle with one of my own, you know, when they fit into the yeshiva exact system and they come home and they do the math and the Gemara and they check the seats, it's very easy. And then you have one kid who just comes home and lives in a different world, lives in art and music and doesn't really fit in. How did you as a parent, and when you have two such autistic children, how did you deal with sort of the nonconformists and the artists and yet keep them within the system and normal and functioning and not have them drift out of the ionosphere? How did you handle that? How do we bring up an artistic child?
In Hebrew, we say, Chanoch anar al pi darko. You, the father, the mother, we are looking what are the qualities of each boy. And sometimes you want your child to be a lawyer, like every Jewish mother, every Jewish father. But it doesn't work this way. You want him to be a doctor, you want him to be a big scientist. It doesn't work this way. So I remember very good that my children, they took a guitar, they were playing the guitar, and I said, please, take this as a hobby, but not as a profession.
Whatever you do, don't be a musician.
Don't be a musician. And things, they didn't go this way. And Baruch Hashem, we are so proud of them. And I don't have, the characteristics, they are very simple. You see how they grow, and simply you have a lot of nachas from them.
Okay, so let me ask Rabbi Eitan, you're next in the screen. When you have autistic children, and I imagine you may have it, it's often, very often, you know, bra kari davua. How do you deal with when they just don't fit into the system? When the Rebbe says, why is your child doing, you know, everybody's running in one direction and he's running in the other direction, which, by the way, as Jews, Avram ha'ivri, kol ha'olam ha'ivri, we should be comfortable with. But societally, unfortunately, we live in a very conformist society and we're not comfortable with it. How do we deal with children that don't conform because of some inner artistic nature and they don't fit in?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, my oldest is 12 years old, and so I don't want to answer the question as if I know the answer from experience, but from the past, let's say, I don't know, 10 years or so, every week or every 2 weeks, I get another email or a message from a kid who wants to play, who wants to this, who wants to do music, asking for my hadracha or whatever that's worth. I'm not sure why they're calling me, but the answer to your question is that I think there's a balance. That I don't think just because a child has, or a person has an artistic ability or is showing signs of an artistic ability, I think it's much more of a service and the right thing to do to them to not just let them go with that the whole way and put everything else aside. Oh, my child learns how to play drums, I want to give him drum lessons no matter what. This is no, there's a way to, I mean, in Yiddishkeit is all about balance. It's all about, you know, Kadosh Baruch Hu didn't create robots, and Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want us to be robots. But with that, I feel like Kadosh Baruch Hu did give us a system in where all of our personalities and uniqueness can be well worked within a certain system. So I think every parent, I mean, this is what I daven for. This is the first summer that I might be sending my child away for sleepaway camp. And like the first thing I think about is what kind of Rebbe they're going to have, what kind of like counselor they're going to have. And all of these, I'm not looking for just something open-minded, whatever it is, to explore art, because that can get us into weird, dangerous areas. But the same side for a Rebbe, or a parent or any type of mentor, to not recognize and not appreciate and validate every person's uniqueness. Forget artistic. I don't think if you need to be, tag it as only an artistic, thing. Any single curiosity should be respected. Any desire to, especially when it's not what the Rebbe father mentor is used to. But I think there has to be a balance of not letting everything be respected as if it's like the only thing in the world, and not push it out. There's got to be a process.
Shlomo, let me follow that up. How do we deal with the artistic child or the nonconformist child in a society that is very into conforming?
I have, Baruch Hashem, we have 4 daughters, and my oldest is about 10 and a half. So that's why, like my brother said, I can't really speak as someone that knows how to deal with it from a parent's side that clearly, because they're still young, but of course they do they do show signs that are very, my girls are very expressive, they're very artistic, and one thing I hope that I always encourage them is to be in touch with, Rav Soloveitchik calls it, he has a mimer on Pesach, on Leil Seder, I forget the exact lashon, something about like a sakranut tehora, which means holy curiosity. A sakranut tehora. And I can only answer it as in terms of what it was like to grow up in my parents. As a kid, how did I experience it in a way that definitely we were pretty different than most of the kids that we grew up with in the sense of being in the artistic world from a very young age. As much as our father told us don't become musicians, he put us both on stage from a very, very young age. So that's, but that was just natural. It didn't feel foreign at all. It was very natural. It was what we knew very clearly. But my experience growing up in the house was the space to keep on going with my sakranut, with my curiosity. And at times I had to learn things the hard way. And there's nothing, the en ma lasot, and it's because of the gift that my parents gave me of trusting me to figure things out on my own. But, it was done with so much love, and with the notion of you could always come back home. You could always feel like you're coming back home. And that gave me the grounding that I believe really essentially upon that everything else can grow. But I had to do it myself too. There's a pasuk in Shir HaSayam, it says, Ze keli v'anveyu elokei avi v'ramenu. There's a lot of tires on this. So Ze keli v'anveyu. So my own interpretation of my relationship with God, anveyu, I have to make it more and more beautiful. But at the same time, elokei avi, what I have from home, I got to lift up a notch as well. I lift it up a notch by making my relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom beautiful. But you need to put trust in your kids, that you trust that they're carrying their own torch with pride.
I would just comment before I ask your father another question. This one of the first chatoim in Bria. It says when Hevel dies, so the Kli Yakar says, "Ein misa b'li chet." What chet did Hevel do? And he answers, he says, "V'Hevel hevi gamhu." He also brought a carbon. He was a copycat. He wasn't the original Hevel. He wasn't authentic to himself, and that's why he died. And your father allowed you to be authentic, and that's really unusual today. Let me ask the Chazan, the father, when you have children, I haven't asked this before, who are so successful, it says, Ein adam mekamer b'tzai. But how do you deal with children that sometimes could cast the father in their shadow? And does it create any sense of resentment?
No way. There is no resentment. No, 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 no. As I said before, we are so proud of them every time that one of our children writes, comes down with a beautiful niggin, comes down with a beautiful song. We listen to the song once and twice and 3 times, and with קשה להיות objectivity, you know, but this is the situation. It's no, we are very, very happy because these songs, they are reaching so many levavot, so many hearts, all over, not only in Eretz Israel, in Baruch Hashem in Eretz Israel, students in elementary schools, high schools. No, we are very, very happy. There is not kinat sofrim, okay?
So let me ask Eitan a question. What do you value most about your relationship with your father?
Wow, that's a good question. He is the absolute. You know, I'll tell you like this, that there are so many people that I meet around, not just around the yeshiva, the shul, the music, personal life. There's so many people that I meet that have such that they struggle with Yiddishkeit, not because they grew up in a frum home, in a funny way, because they grew up in a home where everything was exactly the way it had to be from their parent and their whatever it is. And everybody goes through their rebellious stage in life, and even if it doesn't manifest itself to be so colorful or whatever, but I never went through Baruch Hashem. I never went through a period of rebelling against Yiddishkeit. And of course, I went through different kufas to find my own way and my own path. But when people ask me what I attribute that to, it's no question that my father and my mother, they instilled this pleasant and beautiful energy about Yiddishkeit in the house. Now, we were absolutely religious. But that's not, I can't describe it. It was just that I never grew up with any negativity towards Hashem, any negativity towards being frum, being observant. And I never experienced that. And I wonder over and over again, like, why am I different than so many people that have to go through such incredible struggles within the Dafke Yiddishkeit itself? Like, and I realized that there was such a love and just a beauty around everything that had to do with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, with Yiddishkeit.
Rav Moshe Feinstein once said he said he saw 2 families, both were Klei Kodesh. And some of the kids from one family turned out really beautifully, and the others didn't. And he said, the ones that didn't, the father always used to say, "Ois shvertz zayin ayid." And he said, that's the worst thing we could tell our children.
Yeah.
What we tell our children is, Drachel darkei noyam, the values, family, hashkafis. There's nobody luckier. And that's what you got from your parents.
Yes, I agree.
So Reb Shlomo, what would you say? What do you value most about your relationship with your father?
Anyone that knows my father and anyone that knows me will believe what I'm saying without an ounce of exaggeration, that when you grow up in a home that you really think that your father may be Mashiach, it's kind of nice, if that makes any sense. Meaning,
Honestly, it doesn't. But you could go ahead.
It doesn't what?
Mashiach is a little bit much.
I'm sorry?
I'm saying it's a little bit much for your father's Mashiach, but that's fascinating. Continue.
Well, I'll explain to you. If I had to imagine the qualities of Melech HaMashiach, so the qualities of making every person feel special in a constant dialogue with the Ribono Shel Olam, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, and bringing light wherever they walk, that's what our lives were like. That's what our lives were like. And I think one of the hardest times I ever had in my life is when I realized that I'm not my father. I know I'm getting very philosophical and deep, but I'm going to try to keep it as real as possible. Like, I know that my brother and I have names in the world, and this is, I guess, what Hashem wants in this door, but we grew up in the midst of real, authentic greatness. Not greatness of Olam Hazeh stuff. But we saw firsthand what it's like to live with someone that their Tzelem Elokim never diminished. It only got more and more pure. It only gets more and more pure over the years. That's really, really what we feel.
That's powerful. Rabbi asked the Rav Chazon Katz, how important is Shalom Bayis in bringing up children?
When a couple gets married, the first thing that the couple has to know is to have שלום בית. מה זאת אומרת? It's not only to light the candles, it's not only to have the beautiful Shabbos there. A person has to know where to bring up the balance between the family. The up and downs that there are in a family, only the Shlom Bayit brings the balance. only the שלום בית. זאת אומרת, האדם צריך לדעת איפה לוותר בכדי שהאיזון יהיה במשפחה.
Okay. I'm curious, can I hear from the boys? What do you feel? How important is Shalom Bayis in Chinuch?
That's like saying, how important is it to eat?
Okay. Well, I would say, Eitan, the divorce rate in the United States exceeds 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So many people don't agree with that. So, but if you could elaborate.
I once heard a beautiful thing. Someone said to me, why do we say when we bench, we say, or Beshus Avimori, we say Avimori, Imi Morasi. And the truth is that how many of us have our parents teaching us? We go to school, we have rebbes, we have moras, we don't have anybody teaching us. I mean, our parents teaching us. But the honest truth is that every single second that they're looking at you, you're teaching them what to do. So when my son says Avi Mori, it's not because he wakes up in the morning and he goes to Beis Medrash in the school, in the house, and I teach him. It's because he sees how I wake up in the morning. He sees how I talk to my wife. He sees how I wash my hands. He's learning everything from me, whether I like it or not. So if one of the basic Torah qualities of decency, of being a real decent human being, besides all the mitzvahs that come together with it, which is 100% as much as important. But besides the fact that if a person doesn't see his parents getting along, I can't imagine what kind of horrible space of fear and vulnerability and lack of safety, of shelter. But Shalom bias is I don't even know what to say. I really do believe that at the end of the day, I could talk for an hour about it, but if a person doesn't believe that shalom bias for a child is as important as eating breakfast, then that person shouldn't really be married. I don't think they should get involved.
Okay. Rav Shlomo, let me ask you, for parents who don't necessarily have an artistic streak in themselves, but feel it's important in their children to encourage it, how do we bring out the niggin, the art, the part of the Adam that is beyond, Kriyas HaSefer, beyond din? How do we go beyond? And how do we encourage that streak of creativity in our children?
Asking Mitzad if a person himself as a parent doesn't feel artistic and creative?
Correct.
That kind of parent?
Yeah.
I can only speak in terms of assumption because I didn't grow up in a house like that, and I'm not living in a house like that right now. But if I had to assume, I would probably say that the first mahalach a parent has to do is to detach themselves a little bit from their vision of who their child is and being open to the fact that, even though what I'm going to say sounds obvious, but the children are their own bria. Even though they come from the parents, the children they bring their own thing to the world, their own character, their own shlichus. Reb Nassim Breslover said that the reason why we have children, I did a shir on this a year ago, and I asked this question. It was a parenting shir, and I asked a question that everyone thought it was like a trick question, and the question was, why did any of you have children? So everyone's waiting for some kind of like a punchline or that. And I said, no, I just want to know, like, what's the reason that we have children? So the answers started to be nervous answers. And people realized that they never stop to think about it. Reb Nosson Breslover says the reason why we have children is because each child brings to the world a new way of revealing Kadosh Baruch Hu's Malchus. That's what each child brings into the world. And if Hashem wanted our children to do the same thing that we're doing, he wouldn't create these children. Hashem doesn't need imitations. But I think a parent has to, and this is a very hard thing, psychologically speaking, and then emotionally as well. But it's very difficult for a parent to let go of the notion that perhaps their child is just made of different stock. So I think awareness of that is the first shlav. And once you're aware of that and you're open to that, then the ratzon of a parent for their child to succeed in what makes them unique and special will be a hopefully natural factor of that awareness.
Okay. Let me ask the Chazan, as somebody who's brought up two such successful children, if you were to give 2 or 3 parenting tips to the listeners, what would they be?
As I said at the beginning, the parents, they have to give the child, it's a beginner, Ken? We are talking about the beginning of his life in the age of 5, 6, to give him and to try to see what is that they like to do. If they like to be, if they like to draw, if they like to paint, if they like to sing, if they like to, everybody wants to play the guitar. I'm telling you, my students in school, I am playing the guitar. I said to one of them, anybody plays the tuba? Anybody plays violin, okay? Violin. No, they don't have this approach. So the התפקיד של הורה, the job of a parent is to give them, to open their eyes, to open the eyes of the Kinderlach to listen, if it's music, to listen to classical music, to the Beatles, and to see where they're going from there.
To find the child's natural interests and talents.
Right.
One, give me three. I'm going to ask your sons to add on one each. So.
Okay, maybe Eitan and Shlomo, they will give.
Okay, so Adarabah, sons, add on one.
Eitan.
Shlomo
Good
first.
parenting. Give
He's
us
older.
each what you believe to be a core and good parenting advice. What would it be?
Crying over your children to the Ribono Shel Olam.
I like to add one small thing that is very big, to give them love, to give them so much love.
Okay.
It goes together, and then it combines, goes together in some place.
Eitan, what would be your, if you had to, this is my parenting advice, it would be?
This is going to sound funny, but I think that parents should either be in the process of their own therapy, or whether it's individual or couples, because I haven't met anybody in the past 15 years that doesn't have tangled up, stuff. And well, obviously we can't be perfect, and we can't, it's impossible to be 100%. But the very least we can do is to be in a constant state of self-growth. And I'm not belittling learning Musar, learning Hasidus, and talking to your every once in a while. But this generation calls for a lot more healthy interaction between in growth. And I would say that if the parents, again, this is a list of 1,000 things that we could talk about as far as parenting skills. But one thing that no one's going to say, or I haven't really heard, is that you are giving over to your child what you are, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. And if you feel tangled inside, then they're going to hear a tangled father inside. When you feel like you're not being honest with yourself, when you feel like there are just thoughts, behaviors that keep you down, then that's, whether you like it or not, that's what they see. And the best thing you could do for your child is to take care of your own mental and spiritual health.
Shusa the Yanukai, the Abba, the Ime, he's saying stay healthy so that the child, in effect, becomes healthy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, this cousin Katz, you must be super proud. And the two sons, it was an honor having you all. Thank you so much for your time.